There are certain things you have no control over. I didn't choose my skin color. I didn't choose my height. I'm as I am. And so if that's a risk factor, then that so be it. But if there are certain things that I can do, like the food that I eat, I can choose. So those things I can change.
But that food may be something that you're used to or you like.
Well, come on, man. Risk factors. The first one we will call the modifiable risk factors. So we're starting off with the non-modifiable risk factors. What is non-modifiable?
Non-modifiable. Mm-hmm. It is a risk that you don't have any control over. Either you are born into it or you didn't get to choose your family, right?
Oh my goodness.
You didn't get to choose your race. And you are aging, so those are non-modifiable risk factors.
And then we have modifiable risk factors. And modifiable risk factors are the risk factors that you can change. You can modify it, basically, as it sounds. You can modify those risk factors. And so you can change something in your life that will prevent you from being diabetic in the future. That is the modifiable risk. The non-modifiable risk, like she said, you can choose your family if it is one. You can't do anything about it, But then again, if you are able to do something about most of the things about the modifiable risk, you probably will, get by without diabetes, even if you have those non-modifiable risk factors. So we will see it as we go forward. Let's start with the non-modifiable risk factors. And I think you hinted one of them. You said
the first one that we're talking about is family history. Family history, we can think of it like your mother, your father, your siblings, and maybe your aunt and your uncles, the close family ties. You have to know their history. Does any of them have diabetes? Are they diabetic? Or you don't know? Or maybe they don't know. So there are questions that you have to ask. If you don't know, you tell your doctor, I'll do a research. Because the reason why the doctors they ask you to answer those questions is so that they will pay attention to certain things. Because if you are from a specific family prone in getting diabetes, it's likely that you have the same kind of genes. So it's likely that you are going to also have diabetes. And sometimes too, it's not just the genes that you are connected to. Sometimes it's the behavior of your family members. Sometimes the way that they eat, the kind of foods that they eat, it's likely that because they eat certain food, that's why they have the diabetes. You may also, if you toe the same line, you may also have diabetes. So it's not just the genes, it's also the behavior and the kinds of foods that you eat.
Family history, and I like the last point that you put in. Whenever we talk about family history as scientists, the first thing we are looking at is your genes. That's why she said that, your father, your mother, your siblings, your close relations, because if those people get that, or if those people have diabetes, then there's a chance that you have the genes for diabetes too, type 2 diabetes too. So you got to be careful. But then she threw in that last point that it may not just be the gene expression. It may just be the lifestyle expression that has been in the family for a long time. If all your family eats it's fufu, or potato, starchy foods, sugar, and you can tell that as for that family, that's all they eat, and they get diabetes, maybe the genes is there, but you could also tell that there's something else also. And so, much as you may have the genes, we may all have the genes, all right? The genes are not going to be expressed until the environment has made it easy for it to express itself. So some people have family history, all right, but they have been able to control their environmental situation so much that the gene expression is not there. So they are not showing the genes. Even though they have the genes for diabetes, everybody in their family has it, but they don't have diabetes. The reason is that they are not doing the things that will make the gene express itself as diabetic. And so you may carry the genes. We're saying that the fact that somebody in your family, your mom or dad or your brother or sister had diabetes is not automatic that you're going to have diabetes. It's a higher chance there for you because your family has it. But it's not that you have to have it. You don't have to have it. If you do some of the things that we're going to talk about in the modifiable risks. If you do a lifestyle change that is completely different from what they did, you may still have the gene for diabetes, and you will not express that genes. Because genes are one thing, but the phenotype or the expression outward is yet another thing. And the phenotype usually depends on the environment, which is where you live, what you eat, the kinds of activities you're involved in. Those are the things that help bring up the gene that is hiding in your genome. And so we just don't want you to completely have, fear that, oh, my mom has it, oh my God, I'm going to have it. No, you don't have to have it. You can have it if you want, easily, because your mom has it. But you can say that I don't want to have it because my mom had it. And we'll show you the way out. Next type of risk factor, which is also still under the non-modifiable. Non-modifiable being that a risk factor that you cannot do anything about, you can change. And the second one is age, especially when you are over 45. Research has shown that people get diabetic more often after the age of 45. Now, Gifty already gave you a caveat in the beginning that nowadays it's no more like that, though, because if you see the kind of people who are getting the ages of people who are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it will baffle you sometimes. But it makes sense because of the sodas we are drinking, the kinds of food, the weight that we are putting on, which are some of the risks we're going to talk about. But then, if you are able to take care of yourself and not do anything, after age 45, your risk of getting diabetes increases, especially type 2 diabetes we're talking about here. As she said, you cannot do anything about age. If you are 45 and over, I don't think you can ask to go back to be less than 45 so that your risk for diabetes goes down. Can you do that, honey?
No, but like we said last time, age is just a number.
Age is just a number.
So if you want your system, or if you want to feel like you are really 45, because sometimes some doctors will do some calculation and say that, oh, you are 75, but the way that you live in your life and the numbers coming from your blood work and the results is like somebody who is 50 wouldn't put you over 45. Because you want to remain, forever 21.
My goodness, I like that. Forever 21.
So sometimes with the age, I think we used to say that it's some behaviors will catch up with you with time. So sometimes you don't see anything. You are just drinking your sodas. You are still doing your regular stuff. You are eating your carbohydrates, your high sugar content, everything you're doing. And you are like, oh, I'm young. I'm okay. I'm doing okay. My blood work is on point and everything. But as you age, it catches up with you. So some behaviors before you get to 45, you can make certain changes so that when you get there, you are there all right. The number shows on your birth certificates that you're 45, right? But in actual fact, the way that you express yourself, the way that you live your life, the way that your lab results will show that you are not really as somebody who is not taking care of themselves.
You can refuse to grow. In the Bible, somebody refused to grow. Caleb, he had to be there. He had to be old enough to be there to claim his inheritance. And so you can refuse to grow. You can be growing in numbers, but you still look the same. I've seen people, who never change. But if you want to, make everybody see that you are over 45, you can easily show it by the way you eat, by the way you carry yourself, by whether or not you move or you become sedentary, by whether or not, you actually believe in your, in your health, or saying some people they just naturally call themselves to be sick because they feel like they are grown old. I say, oh, hey, I'm 50, that's right, I have knees. No, the fact that you're 50 doesn't mean you should have a knee problem, bro. My goodness. You don't have to have a knee problem. The fact that you're 60 doesn't mean you have to have a disease. No. Some people may have it, but you got to promise yourself that I am getting the number 60, but I'm feeling 40, I'm feeling 20, and you can still be around with health. And if you do that, then even though we are telling you that if you are over 45, according to science, your risk for getting type 2 diabetes is increased, you can still defy that risk, even though it's non-modifiable risk, as they say. So the next non-modifiable risk factor is your race or ethnicity, where you are born, where you are from. You cannot change that, And incidentally, according to research, people of African descent, whether you are African American or African, as long as your origin is from Africa, you have a higher incidence of diabetes. Native Americans also have a higher incidence of diabetes. Hispanics also have higher incidence of diabetes, and that is something that is, it is found that it happens more. Basically, type 2 diabetes usually happens more with these groups of people. And again, it is a class effect. It is something that we see. It's about more people who are from that place, more people who are from that race. But it doesn't have to be everybody from that race. So we can be, classified as a group. Because you are black, you have high incidence or risk for getting diabetes. But it doesn't mean you have to have diabetes because you are black. I hope it's
That's clear.
So it's a risk factor, all right? It's non-modifiable. You can't change it. Like I'm saying, there's no way I can change to be a white. I mean, I could probably do like Michael Jackson, become light skinned and like white, but that doesn't change my genes. That doesn't change my socioeconomics. You see, and so you can't do anything about that risk factor. But then there are certain things you can do. You can do certain things about, which we're going to talk about.
Soul foods. So the soul foods is such that it's more greasy. The chicken, the fried chickens.
A lot of fried chicken.
So the diet itself is not good. And because we are consuming a lot, we tend to be more prone to such diseases. And sometimes too, from where we come from, it's more carbohydrates.
Yes.
The carbohydrates break down for the sugar, right? The simple sugar. So if we are exposed to a lot of sugar in the blood over and over and over for a long period of time, we overwork the insulin to the point that it becomes very resistant. As unlike the other race, their food is not solely carbohydrates. The sugar content is a little lower. The high cholesterol, the cholesterol level,
nice.
So the diet is what is really killing us. And sometimes to the neighborhood that we live in, you can't just go jogging early morning. You cannot be active. Like we encourage people to step out, walk and do all these activities. If you live in a neighborhood that you don't have access to safety, like you walk outside and you hear the shootings and stuff like that.
We don't have to be a statistic. We may be classified as a socioeconomically or as a race-wise or as an ethnic group. And this is not just to African Americans. Hispanics also are classified a lot in these diseases. And American Indians, same thing. Was also the same, the culture of living on a plantation. There's a lot of alcohol use there. There's sedentary lifestyle, a lot of sugar use. And so if diabetes is found more, it makes sense. It's not like because there's something wrong with the genes. No, it's the socioeconomics and the culture and our diet, as Gifty has pointed out. So in that case, if we say that your race, being black or being Indian or being Hispanic, as a risk factor, you can say minus me. Though you may be part of the group, it may, separate you from the things that cause the diseases in the group. And that is where we are going to go to with the modifiable risk factors.